What if time, as we know it, is just an illusion? What if the very structure of our thoughts, built on past experiences and future projections, is the barrier preventing us from experiencing life as it truly is? These provocative questions lie at the heart of Jiddu Krishnamurti's teachings, where he masterfully unravels the intricate web of thought, time, and consciousness. His insights challenge not just how we think, but why we think the way we do, and whether that thinking serves us or imprisons us. Krishnamurti begins with a startling assertion. Thought and time are inseparable. This connection is not about the practical utility of time, measuring days or planning schedules, but about the psychological time we create. When we dwell on past regrets or anticipate future joys or fears, we weave a continuous narrative that separates us from the immediacy of the present. According to Krishnamurti, a thought arises from memory, which is inherently a product of the past. Every thought is shaped by prior experiences, conditioning, and accumulated knowledge. This dependence on the past means that our understanding of reality is never fresh or untainted. It is always filtered through the lens of what we already know. He emphasizes, thought is always old because it is the response of memory. Thus, the act of thinking inherently distances us from the newness of the present moment. Similarly, psychological time emerges when we project ourselves into the future. We create aspirations, expectations, and fears based on past experiences, perpetuating a cycle of dissatisfaction. The future becomes a mental construct where we hope to find fulfillment, yet it is always out of reach, tethered to the same conditioning that shaped our past. Krishnamurti's critique of the human drive for becoming is a profound challenge to our conventional understanding of progress and self-improvement. At the core of his argument lies the idea that this constant striving is rooted in a belief that we are fundamentally incomplete. Whether we aim to become wealthier, wiser, or more enlightened, we often operate under the illusion that fulfillment exists in the future, just beyond our grasp. This future-oriented mindset, Krishnamurti asserts, is a construct of thought, a projection that keeps us trapped in psychological conflict. The conflict arises because this pursuit creates a division within the self. On one side is what is, our current state with all its flaws and imperfections. On the other side is what should be, an idealized version of ourselves dictated by societal norms, personal ambition, or spiritual goals. The gap between these two creates tension, dissatisfaction, and a sense of inadequacy. We are never fully at peace because we are always measuring ourselves against this imagined ideal. Krishnamurti offers a radical departure from this mindset. He suggests that transformation does not come from striving to become something else, but from fully understanding and embracing our present reality. This understanding is not passive acceptance, but an active observation of our thoughts, emotions, and conditioning without judgment or resistance. In this state of pure awareness, the mind is no longer divided, and the need for becoming dissolves. He emphasizes, to transform the present, you must understand it. True change, therefore, arises not from pursuing a distant ideal, but from a profound engagement with the present moment. When we stop chasing what should be, we uncover the richness of what is, unlocking a state of being that is free, whole, and complete in itself. For Krishnamurti, living in the present is not a practice or technique, but an entirely different way of being. He rejects the notion of deliberately suppressing thoughts about the past or future, as such efforts only reinforce the mental struggle. Instead, he urges us to cultivate a heightened awareness of our mental processes, a state of observation that is free from judgment, interference, or the desire to change what arises in the mind. Central to this practice is Krishnamurti's revolutionary assertion, the observer is the observed. This challenges the deeply ingrained duality that most people experience, the sense of an I that observes thoughts, emotions, and experiences as separate entities. Krishnamurti argues that this division is an illusion created by thought itself. The I that we perceive as the thinker is merely another construct of thought. Once we understand this, the internal conflict, the struggle between the thinker and the thought, dissolves. There is no separate entity trying to control or overcome thoughts. There is only pure awareness of what is. This unified awareness is transformative. As we observe thoughts without labeling or resisting them, we begin to see their origins in memory, conditioning, and past experiences. This recognition strips them of their power. Thoughts lose their ability to dominate our present experience because they are no longer seen as truth, but as conditioned responses. In these moments of pure perception, the mind becomes silent, not through force, but as a natural outcome of this awareness. Freed from the grip of psychological time, we experience reality directly, without the filters of past and future. This is the art of living in the present, an unfiltered, authentic engagement with life as it is, bringing clarity, peace, and profound freedom. Krishnamurti's vision of a timeless mind is both profound and liberating. It challenges the notion that peace and clarity require deliberate effort or the mastery of complex techniques. Instead, he invites us to return to the simplicity of direct experience, unmediated by the constructs of thought and psychological time. In his teachings, Krishnamurti emphasizes that the mind's entanglement with thought and time creates endless noise, a chatter that keeps us fragmented and unable to perceive life in its wholeness. Thought, rooted in memory, constantly pulls us toward the past, while time as a psychological construct pushes us into the future. This oscillation prevents us from experiencing the fullness of the present moment. When the mind is free from this cycle, it enters a state Krishnamurti calls choiceless awareness. This is not an active practice, but a natural state of observation without judgment or preference. In choiceless awareness, there is no attempt to categorize, compare, or escape what is observed. Instead, the mind simply sees purely and wholly. Krishnamurti eloquently describes this state as one of profound stillness. However, he is quick to clarify that this stillness is not something to be forced or manufactured. It is not the result of discipline or control. Instead, it arises organically when the mind is unburdened by its own activity. To understand the immeasurable, the mind must be extraordinarily quiet still, he explains. In this timeless state, life reveals itself in its entirety. Freed from the filters of memory, judgment, and anticipation, every moment becomes rich with clarity and depth. This is not a mystical escape, but a return to the most fundamental reality, the direct experience of being alive. The timeless mind is, therefore, a mind that truly sees, unbound and unconditioned, opening the doorway to genuine freedom. At first glance, Krishnamurti's teachings on thought, time, and awareness may appear abstract, even philosophical. However, their real power lies in their profound practicality. By integrating these ideas into daily life, we can transform how we relate to ourselves, others, and the world around us. One of the most practical aspects of Krishnamurti's teachings is his emphasis on observing emotions and thoughts without interference. For instance, when faced with anger, our typical response is either to suppress it or to act on it impulsively. Krishnamurti suggests a third approach. Simply observe it. Watch the anger as it arises, without labeling it as good or bad, without defending it or seeking to justify it. In this state of detached observation, the emotion begins to lose its grip. By understanding its root, often stemming from fear, expectation, or a sense of hurt, the anger dissolves naturally, without the inner conflict of suppression or the outer consequences of expression. Similarly, Krishnamurti teaches us to fully experience moments of joy without clinging to them. Often we try to hold on to happiness, fearing its loss, which ironically leads to anxiety and diminishes the joy itself. By embracing the transience of all experiences and letting them flow naturally, we allow life to unfold without resistance. This approach extends to relationships as well. Krishnamurti challenges us to interact with others free from the baggage of past grievances or future expectations. Imagine the freedom of meeting someone anew each day, unclouded by previous judgments or assumptions. Such presence deepens connections and fosters genuine understanding. Krishnamurti's idea of liberation is strikingly different from conventional notions of freedom. It is not about breaking societal rules, escaping daily responsibilities, or achieving transcendence through effort. Instead, it is about being fully alive in the here and now, unburdened by the distortions of thought and time. This liberation is not an abstract concept reserved for mystics or philosophers. Krishnamurti passionately believed it was available to anyone willing to deeply inquire into the workings of their own mind. At the core of his teaching is the understanding that thought and time condition our perception of reality. Thoughts rooted in memory create a lens through which we interpret every experience, often clouding the present moment with judgments and expectations. Similarly, psychological time, the constant oscillation between dwelling on the past and projecting into the future, disconnects us from the immediacy of life as it unfolds. To liberate ourselves from these limitations, Krishnamurti urges us to step into the light of direct experience. This means observing life without the filters of memory, comparison, or anticipation. It is about engaging with reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. He explains, when the mind is free of all conditioning, only then is it capable of seeing what is true. This clarity transforms how we live. Freed from the compulsion to label, analyze, or resist, we begin to experience the richness of the present moment. Every interaction, every sensation, and every emotion becomes vivid and alive. This is not a state of passivity, but one of heightened awareness and profound engagement. The liberation of the present is thus a radical way of being. It invites us to shed the burden of the past, relinquish our anxieties about the future, and awaken to the boundless freedom of simply being. In exploring Krishnamurti's profound teachings on thought, time, and consciousness, we uncover a path to unparalleled freedom, the liberation of the present moment. His insights remind us that the incessant chatter of thought and the psychological constructs of time are the true barriers to clarity and peace. By observing without judgment and embracing the immediacy of what is, we can transcend the illusions of becoming and rediscover the simplicity of being. This journey is not about escape or attainment, but about awakening to life's profound richness, available to all who are willing to see with an unconditioned, timeless mind.